We are now live.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Pillar One Advisory Committee. Our topic of discussion for today is the 2025 Blueprint Comprehensive Plan and Update. And this is the public input meeting. So we're going to start with the brief introduction, and I will introduce myself, followed by the committee, Dr. Jennifer, Dr. Linda, and Dr. Ray, Gina, and Sakshi, and then followed by the AIB team. So my name is Ruby Daniels. I am the chair of the Pillar One Advisory Committee. I am also the president of the Maryland State Family Child Care Association and Family Child Care and the Pre-K Expansion Grantee. I'll turn it over to Dr. Jennifer.
I wanted to share our mission is to gather meaningful.
Can we do the introduction first?
Oh, sure. I'm Jennifer Mata McMahon, Associate Professor of Early Childhood Education at UMBC.
Thank you. Dr. Linda?
Hi, I'm Linda Gronberg-Quinn. I'm the Department Chair of Teacher Education at the Community College of Baltimore County.
Dr. Ray?
Good afternoon, Dr. Miller, Consortium of Accomplished Educators, Prince George's and Charles County.
Gina?
Hi, everyone. I'm Gina Hoover. I am the Early Learning Lead Teacher with Washington County Public Schools.
Hey, Sakshi.
Hi, I'm Sakshi. I'm a junior at Long Ridge High School in Howard County, Maryland.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to introduce the AIB team. Lisa?
Lisa Armstrong, the Pillar 4 policy analyst and also supporting Pillar 1. Arshia?
Hi, everyone. Arshia Sethi-Snowden, Outreach and Communications Director at the AIB. Joy?
Hi, everyone. It's Joy Schaefer, and I'm the Government Relations Director at the AIB, and I'll pass it over to Rachel.
Hey there, Rachel Amstutz, Policy Director here at the AIB.
Okay, Dr. Jennifer, you want to start us off and take a moment to share our mission and vision?
Absolutely. Our mission is to gather meaningful input for private and public educators, families, and community leaders and members, early childhood education experts to ensure that the implementation of the blueprint for Maryland's future, particularly in Pillar 1, is both effective and equitable. We believe that lasting change must be informed by the people closest to the work, and your voices help shape the decisions that move this vision forward. And now Sakshi is going to share the committee's vision.
Thank you, Dr. Jennifer. Our vision is clear: a Maryland where all children, regardless of their background or zip code, have access to high-quality full-day pre-K. We believe that every child should enter kindergarten with skills, confidence, and curiosity they need to thrive, not just in school, but in life. Linda will now share the focus of Pillar 1.
Thank you, Sakshi. Specifically, Pillar 1 is focused on expanding access to full-day kindergarten, especially for low-income families, ensuring that all pre-K providers, whether in schools or community-based settings, meet rigorous quality standards, and providing public funding to support both public and private partners in delivering these vital early learning experiences. Together, we're building a system that uplifts children, supports working families, and raises the educational foundation of our state.
Thanks, Linda. And on behalf of the committee, I want to thank those joining us and participating in the public comment portion of our meeting. We're glad to have you all here. Before we begin, AIB staff will provide a brief overview of the process to update the Blueprint Comprehensive Plan, after which we will open the floor to take public comment.
Great. Thank you, Gina. And I'm going to start to share my screen. I think I'm going to start to share my screen. Hold on one second.
Try now, Joy.
Hmm?
Try now.
No, I just can't. I can't find the screen. I am trying to share, which is strange because I've only got one screen open. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to scroll down. Got it. Sorry about that. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Great. So good afternoon, Chair Daniels, Vice Chair Miller, members of the Pillar 1 Advisory Committee, and participants. The Blueprint Comprehensive Plan guides the work of state and local agencies and entities that are charged with implementing the blueprint. It sets out specific objectives for each of the 5 pillars of the blueprint, what specifically must be implemented to achieve those objectives, by what date, and then who holds the responsibility for each task. It's updated annually, and by statute, the requirement is that any updates must be adopted by August 1st. Since the initial comprehensive plan, which was adopted in 2022, December, the AIB and state and local partners have experienced both successes and challenges and have learned a great deal. The changes to implementation requirements and guidance have been informed by these insights that are gained by these experiences, as well as through public and stakeholder feedback. I'll just note here that suggestions for updates to the comprehensive plan generally fall into a couple of categories. Those which are changes that are allowed within the parameters of the comprehensive plan and that are within the AIB's purview to change. However, there are suggestions that would affect if there are suggestions that would affect a component that's set forth in state law, that would require what we term a statutory change and necessitate legislation by the General Assembly. A key thing to keep in mind is the comprehensive plan is specific to the achievement of objectives for each pillar that are articulated in the plan. So suggestions for updates must relate to those defined objectives. Specific to Pillar 1, early childhood education, the 3 objectives addressed in the Blueprint Comprehensive Plan are 1, to expand high quality, publicly funded full-day pre-kindergarten. 2, to assess student readiness for kindergarten, and 3, expand family supports. Each year, we take into consideration any changes in policy or the law that affect implementation and require an update to the comprehensive plan. And this year, during the legislative session, House Bill 1475 passed in the General Assembly and was signed by the governor. The Mixed Delivery Model Viability Act requires MSDE to convene a work group to conduct an analysis of mixed delivery, publicly funded full-day pre-K, with a specific focus on the pre-K expansion grant program and that program's efficacy in supporting the participation of private providers. In their conduct of a dozen areas of analysis outlined in the bill, the work group will be required to solicit feedback from public pre-K providers, private pre-K providers, as well as childcare providers who have elected not to participate in the publicly funded pre-kindergarten program. The bill authorizes the work group to consult additional subject matter and policy experts and requires the work group to submit reports to the AIB and the General Assembly. The interim report is due June 1st, 2026, and a final report in December 31st, 2027. With this fairly long period of study, the thinking is that some things might be able to be identified and be implemented without legislation, perhaps even after the interim report is completed. And perhaps those components can then be evaluated by the final report period, at which time if legislation is necessary or identified, that can be developed at that time. During this update process, feedback is gathered from public meetings like this one, feedback from state agencies and organizations, and written comments are provided through the survey that's currently on the AIB website. The board will consider changes to the comprehensive plan at their regular meeting in July, July 24th to be specific, so that the statutory deadline of updating the plan by August 1st can be met. And in terms of feedback opportunities, advisory committees will be holding these public sessions during June to gather feedback relevant to each pillar. Staff have reached out to state agencies, entities, and organizations to solicit feedback. On the AIB website, as I mentioned earlier, there's a survey available for submission of written comments, and all of these opportunities have been communicated through a robust and systematic communication strategy. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to the committee.
Thank you so much, Joy. Do any committee members have any questions? Seeing none, that last slide was a good segue to the public comment portion of our meeting. I want to make sure that our speakers are aware that this meeting is being transcribed and recorded. We have 15 speakers signed up to give comment. Each speaker will have up to 2 minutes to give their comments. You will see a countdown timer in the corner of your video tile, and when time is up, there will be an auditory alert. I ask that speakers respect this time allotment as a courtesy to all of the other speakers who are waiting to speak. We will do our best to facilitate this meeting so we keep it moving and ensure that we have ample time to hear from everyone. Our goal today is to hear from everyone. We will announce the speakers in order in groups of 5 or so people can keep track of where they are in the order and be ready to give comment. If any advisory committee members need to clarify a speaker's comments, they will be able to ask for that. But it is important that we keep our time in mind, and so we are very clear when we have our clarification requests. For those giving public comment, when you are called on to provide your comments, please enable your camera. And if you're watching this live stream on another device, kindly mute that device before you start speaking. This will avoid our hearing feedback and distracting background noises. Staff will unmute your microphone. For viewers, as staff mentioned earlier, if you did not sign up to give comment today, you can still provide your input. There is a link to the Blueprint Comprehensive Plan Survey on the homepage of AIB's website. That website is aib.maryland.gov. That survey form will remain open for written feedback through Friday, July the 11th. Do any committee members have questions about the public comment process? All right, I will turn it over to you, Dr. McMahon.
So without further ado, we're going to hear from the participants. Our first 5 speakers in order are Rudy Zelman, Hillary Roberts King, Bill Hudson, Christina Poosh, Vanessa Jones Warner, and just so the next speakers will be ready, the next 5 speakers following them in order will be Liz Zaggby, Caitlin Hawley, Katie Rididgeway, Angela Richards, Felicia Jones Taylor, and our last set of speakers will be in order Latarsha James, Rena Dubinsky, Kimberly Peña Molina, Mary Pat Fannin, and Lesie Fry. When you give comment, please tell us your name. And if you are commenting on behalf of an organization, please tell us the organization that you are representing.
Hello, am I good to start going? Okay, great. Good afternoon, members of the Pillar 1 Advisory Committee. My name is Rudy Zelman. I'm the Program Director for Pre-K Expansion at the Fund for Educational Excellence in Baltimore City. I want to highlight several consistent barriers we're seeing on the ground as we work towards the Blueprint's Pillar 1 goals around pre-K expansion through a strong mixed delivery system, and offer some solutions the AIB could champion to accelerate implementation. First, the reimbursement structure of the pre-K expansion grant is prohibitive for many private providers. Even with a small advance, many providers simply can't afford to float those costs up front. This makes participation financially risky and discourages participation in public pre-K. A fee-for-service model would be much more inclusive and supportive of the Blueprint's goals. Second, the timeline is out of sync with community needs. Programs often don't get slot notifications until May or June, making it extremely difficult to plan for hiring, enrollment, and coordination with the LEA. Moving notifications to January would help providers and families plan more effectively. Third, excels in accreditation are a major barrier. Only about 1/3 of providers here in Baltimore City are even eligible to apply for pre-K expansion right now. It takes time and resources to improve quality, and the current implementation guidance in the BCP, such as pre-K provider hubs and robust technical assistance, are not yet happening fully in practice. We need real investment and high-touch support. Lastly, the application process is complex and designed for LEAs, not small providers. Many simply don't have the capacity to complete it without help. Simplifying the application would expand access significantly. I encourage the AIB to use its influence to support, one, a more streamlined and accessible funding process for private providers on a more effective timeline, two, expanded technical assistance and quality supports, and three, leveraging the HB 1475 work group to act on those interim recommendations in real time. These changes would make a more equitable, accessible pre-K system for all of our providers and families. Thank you for your time.
Any clarifying questions from the committee? Okay, we will move on to Hillary.
Good afternoon. My name is Hillary Roberts King, and I'm the Executive Director of Downtown Baltimore Childcare. DBCC operates 3 Excels Level 5 centers here in Baltimore City. We were proud to return to the Mixed Delivery Public Pre-K grant this past year. With the support from our MSDE pre-K specialist and additional help from an MSCCA grant, we were able to continue offering high-quality learning experiences to our community. That said, we have encountered a few ongoing challenges, particularly around timelines, funding sources, and grant administration support that I think are worth bringing to this table to help the group see more paths forward to expanding access to pre-K. First, on timelines. Currently, public schools in Maryland often begin enrolling students for public pre-K before private providers are able to start. This misalignment causes confusion for families and can lead to shifting enrollments over the summer. That instability ultimately weakens rather than strengthens the broader network of early childhood resources available to Maryland's 3- and 4-year-olds. I recommend that we continue to compare and align the enrollment timelines for public and private pre-K programs to ensure a more equitable and coordinated process for families. Regarding funding sources for the upcoming year, DBCC had hoped to expand the number of pre-K slots across our 3 centers. However, we learned that managing the original enrollment slots under one grant and the additional slots under a separate grant would be administratively burdensome and complex. I recommend MSDE work on streamlining grant funding mechanisms. Finally, on grant support, we know that questions will arise, especially for programs newer to MSDE public pre-K systems. While open office hours are available and appreciated, they tend to offer general information and often require multiple follow-ups from providers to get the answers to site-specific questions.
Thanks, Hillary. If I don't see any hands, then we'll just move on to the next.
It's just a quick question for Hillary. The recommended enrollment timeline, can you elaborate on that? Because I guess as a private pre-K grantee, I could technically enroll some students in my program.
Yeah,
If I'm getting
absolutely.
the grants, the spaces, right?
One of the problems that we run into is, parents are anxious to reduce their out-of-pocket costs for pre-K. And when the public schools can open up enrollment in January and then have deadlines in April and May, that ends up with shifting numbers for our 4-year-old programs as families go back and forth between the 2 programs, trying to nail down where their 4-year-old will be next year. Is that helpful, Ruby?
Yes, so it's a question of the family trying to figure out whether they're going to go to the public school or to the private providers.
Often.
Oh, I see. Okay. Because they try and enroll in the public school first.
Because their enrollment opens before ours does due to the grant application timeline.
Yeah, and I know I'm hearing a lot from the pre-K expansion grantees too, is that they are afraid of enrolling, accepting new enrollees because of the fear that they might not get the grant.
Correct. That system needs to be streamlined and aligned.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Ruby.
Great. Thanks so much, Hillary. We will move on to Bill.
Sure, I'm muted here. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill Hudson. I'm Executive Director for the Family Child Care Alliance of Maryland. For the 6th year in a row, the Alliance has received a pre-K expansion grant this year for 260 seats. That brings our total for the upcoming school year to over 500 seats and 100 programs scattered across 18 counties in Baltimore City. This achievement takes us another step towards our goal of building what will be a nationally innovative model, the equivalent of a virtual statewide school district for pre-K and family child care. We're confident we can achieve that goal by the Alliance's 10th year anniversary in 2029. That said, we see one significant challenge. Based on our research, we see that Joint Statement Number 3, passed by the AIB and the State Board of Education last January, has a potential risk to the entire private child care market, not just family child care. Research and the national data regarding the impact of universal or near universal public pre-K on private child care shows alarming trends. A detailed report of our findings will be released later this month by the Alliance. Preliminary data from Maryland shows that 3 counties that eliminated means testing for public pre-K were among the top 5 Maryland counties that lost the most child care capacity since 2016. We must carefully consider these implications as we move forward. We respectfully urge the AIB and the State Board of Education to urgently form a task force to examine this data. The goal is to create shared understanding of the likely outcomes of various LEA actions so that we can collaboratively build a plan that allows pre-K access to expand without damaging the private child care market. Thank you for your time and commitment to making sure every child in Maryland has a chance to learn, grow, thrive, no matter where they live.
Great. Thanks, Bill. We will now move on to Christina.
Great. I think I'm unmuted. Hi, I'm Chris. It says I'm unmuted, right? Okay, thanks. I keep saying okay. I'm Chris Push, Executive Director of the Maryland State Child Care Association, co-chair of the Office of Child Care Advisory Council, and serve for 2 terms on the State Early Childhood Advisory Council. Thank you for the opportunity to make public comment this evening. MSCC has worked very hard and is proud to support private providers who wish to participate in Pillar 1, such as Hillary, who just provided public comment. For public pre-K, my organization created a grant support service model and collaborated with partners such as Bill Hudson and Aspire, and importantly, generous private philanthropic funders such as Rudy and others in 2 jurisdictions to successfully build capacity, write grants, and manage grants for 20 programs serving over 380 children in Baltimore and City and Montgomery County for the last 2 grant cycles. Both cohorts and funders have provided MSD with feedback about the barriers from stakeholders, which were introduced this evening as well, participating in the grant process and the mixed delivery pre-K. Additionally, MSCCA and partners in the General Assembly, MSD and state organizations worked hard over the last 2 sessions to move the AIB recommendations from your report from 2023 to pass House Bill 1441 in 2024. And my comments would extend the fact that we need to continue that private provider career ladder through 2030 and beyond, as well as passing House Bill 1475 this session, which was our bill as well, to focus on the viability of Pillar 1 in the mixed delivery system. And we know that Maryland cannot achieve mixed delivery without private providers. Parents don't work 6.5 hours per day, and we have a critical workforce shortage and a 15% decline in the child care programs in Maryland, making viability for early childhood programs even more challenging. Therefore, we must act. Our comptroller's recent report shares the importance of child care and early childhood programs, how important they are to the economy. So we must recognize this importance and support the workforce in our state due to the child care scholarship freeze that is now in place, which will impact our wraparound care and declining child care workforce and less access to child care for working families. We all need to work together efficiently and effectively, using many of what my colleagues have already said in their comments, not only to achieve the tenets of the blueprint, but to strengthen and support the ecosystem for childcare and early childhood. I would also just mention the Qualtrics. We had some issues with the Qualtrics system this time that I'd like to see addressed in the future through the work group, as well as the straddling of two sets of COMAR regulations that are required both for the educational program, that 6.5 hours is under a different COMAR than the childcare regulations, and we have public and private children mixed together. So we need to address those challenges as well. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks, Chris. Our next public commenter is not present, so if they do show up before we end the meeting, I'll have them go then, but Liz will be next.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to provide feedback for revising the comprehensive implementation plan. My name is Liz Zaggby, and I'm here on behalf of the Education Advocacy Coalition. We're a coalition of 50 organizations and individuals concerned with education policy for students with disabilities in Maryland. I also served as co-chair with Dr. Wright of the Blueprint Special Education Work Group that recently submitted its final recommendations to the AIB. And the EAC has submitted a full set of written comments as well. First, we hope that the AIB will continue vigorous pursuit of the goal of expanding the definition of Tier 1 to include 3- and 4-year-olds with disabilities regardless of family income to ensure their prioritization for seats and full funding. This was the intent of the Kirwan Commission, and it aligns with federal law and COMAR. Number 2, a subtask should require MSDE to develop a plan to meet the challenges of pre-K expansion and a mixed delivery system that will meet the needs of students with disabilities, including the recruitment and preparation of pre-K providers, transportation, and facilities requirements. 3, the current plan says that providers should be inclusive of all children with disabilities. This requires MSDE to go beyond simply identifying and communicating best practices. Technical assistance and hands-on training and coaching are needed to ensure providers have the requisite knowledge and skills to create inclusive classrooms. Fourth, there are funding mechanisms currently in the plan, and these should prioritize inclusion to increase the number of high-quality private pre-K providers and to improve access to such programs. 5, the special ed work group recommendation about how the Maryland Infants and Toddlers program should improve state support for local programs should be added directly to the plan. And finally, we provided a list of output and outcome measures and data to monitor to ensure that we are measuring implementation inputs and the impact of Pillar 1 for infants, toddlers, and disabilities. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Liz. Any questions? Okay, we'll be moving on to Katie.
Hello, my name is Katie Rididgeway, and I serve as Chief of Staff for Harford County Public Schools. I am here to reiterate challenges we've consistently raised in our implementation plan in meetings with the AIB and MSDE and through legislative advocacy. I do feel some feedback fatigue when repeated concerns, ours and others, feel unsupported. But I'm here because I believe LEA experience must inform the AIB's decisions and advocacy. First, physical space remains a core barrier for Pillar 1. Our capacity to serve students in high growth and low income areas is depleted, especially as we compete for space with community schools and special education programs. Capital funds are limited and must also cover basics like HVAC. We need your support to update construction standards and funding to reflect Blueprint requirements. Second, please explicitly support students receiving special education services as Tier 1, regardless of income. We are legally obligated to serve these students, but current funding tied to income puts FAPE at risk. We're projecting over 85 pre-K students with IEPs who are often placed in general education settings without enough support. Ratios like this are not sustainable. Third, not every 3 or 4-year-old is ready for a full day program, especially those with developmental or behavioral needs. We urge the board to support appropriate alternatives when full day isn't developmentally appropriate. Finally, private providers face real barriers such as burdensome credentialing and delays in MSDE processes. While we understand the mixed delivery model was a political compromise and that there are extraordinary capital costs, without adequate state-level leadership, private pre-K expansion will stall. We support any adjustment that improves private provider access. I have one line left.
That's fine. You can finish your yeah.
Thank you. These issues require state level action, and the AIB is uniquely positioned to lead that effort. So please do so. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Felicia will be next.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Felicia Jones-Taylor, one half of Sayona Partners Consulting. And as a strong advocate for quality early education, I commend Maryland's Blueprint for Education and its commitment to enhancing access and opportunities for all children. The Blueprint's focus on expanding early education, particularly through the mixed delivery pre-K system, is a critical step in providing equitable access to high-quality learning opportunities for Maryland's children. However, there are some significant concerns that need to be addressed in order to improve the experience for providers and families. First, there is a clear absence of outreach and support in encouraging potential providers to apply for the pre-K expansion grants. Storytelling and communication resources should be developed to better engage and recruit eligible providers. Additionally, the AIB should figure out a way to create a fund dedicated to a hub, which was also in legislation, but to help prospective providers navigate the application process and grant requirements, as such a resource is needed to ensure more providers can access and successfully apply for funding. Further, the current MSDE PowerPoints and webinars do not provide enough in-depth support for providers throughout the application and implementation process. To improve this, the AIB could consider establishing focus groups with successful providers who have been able to obtain the pre-K expansion grant to learn from their experiences and share best practices. Additionally, another focus group could be implemented with those who chose not to renew their pre-K expansion grants and those who are unsuccessful applicants to understand the challenges that they face. Another key concern is the need for improved responsiveness from the Division of Early Childhood Development to the public. It is critical for providers to feel supported throughout the process, and timely, transparent communication is essential. Really quickly, the last thing I want to say is I want to urge the AIB to be in collaboration with providers, as they are critical and they are being directly impacted by this work. Thank you.
Thanks, Felicia. Any clarifying questions? Okay, we'll move on to Raina.
I'm actually here to listen, so I must have signed up to speak, but I'm here to hear everyone else. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And in the future, we have a live YouTube link that you can just watch through. Yep. Great. So then we will move to Kimberly.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to share. My name is Kimberly Peña Molina, and I'm the Early Care and Education Manager for the Montgomery County Children's Opportunity Alliance. We are the county's early care and education coordinating entity. We believe improvements that can make a significant impact is in the technical assistance and communication provided by MSDE to its early childhood educators. MSDE needs to improve and expand the technical assistance supports available, particularly in the lead up to the pre-K grant. Right now, what's offered often takes the form of general webinars that aren't really tailored to the specific needs of the educators and their program. Instead, MSDE should create interactive workshops that offer real hands-on technical assistance, where educators can ask questions, receive feedback, and get targeted support to prepare their strong competitive grant applications. This type of engagement would be far more effective in building capacity across the field. Second, educators continue to face challenges with accessing clear and timely information from MSDE. Communication is often fragmented, difficult to find, or inconsistent across platforms. Educators need straightforward guidance, especially around complex processes like the Tier 2 rollout and changes to the requirements for educators. It would also be really helpful to get updates, improve communication, or better supported progress around achieving two other specific elements of the plan, including the establishment of provider hubs and the establishment of centralized enrollment systems. If we truly want to build an equitable, I can't even speak. If we truly want to build an equitable early care and education system across Maryland, we must ensure that educators, especially those in small or community-based settings, have a clear, consistent, accessible communication along with real targeted technical support they need to implement and thrive within Pillar 1. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kimberly. Next up, we have Mary Pat Fannin.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Mary Pat Patan. I'm the Executive Director of the Public School Superintendents Association of Maryland, otherwise known as PSAM. I want to thank the committee members for your service and the opportunity to share feedback today. PSAM greatly appreciates the strong partnership that we have with the AIB and MSDE. And with 2 minutes, I'm going to try to highlight 4 recommendations from our organizations, but we will provide more extensive written comments. But I also want to express our strong support for the Blueprint's vision of a mixed delivery system for pre-K. The Blueprint has definitely pushed public education beyond its traditional mission and model, but we are committed to this vision and ensuring the highest quality education for our youngsters. And we really appreciate our partners in the private sector. However, we know that there are challenges that we each face that are unique, but some that are also common. My first issue to discuss is about the Tier 1. And so I'm not going to belabor that, but we do think it's very, very important. We actually had legislation this year that would have incorporated children with special education needs and multilingual learners into Tier 1, but we're not successful. We really could use the weight and gravitas of the AIB to weigh in and convince the governor and legislature that this has to be a top priority. Second, we believe that allowing for a portion of the pre-K expansion grant should be used to achieve an Excel's rating. As those of you on this call know, currently programs without Excel's rating self-fund until they receive a rating. If we were to allow for conditional programs to tap into this grant or a part of the grant, this would really accelerate the creation of available seats and would also help with the plan's goals of increasing the diversity of providers. Third, for accreditation, we propose and request that the department reduce the pressure on pre-K teachers to complete both different sets of accreditations, the Excels and MSDE. And lastly, we ask for the AIB and MSDE's help in discussing our capital needs with the state legislature, the governor, and the Interagency Commission on School Construction. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Mary Pat. And then next we have Lesie.
Good evening. I have slightly shifted my presentation after hearing everybody. There's so many common themes. So I'm just going to, I'll introduce myself and then get going with 4 recommendations here. I'm Lesie Fry. I'm the Supervisor of Early Childhood Education and Judy Centers in Frederick County Public Schools. I've been working extensively with childcare providers for the past 4 years as Blueprint laid out a mixed delivery system. The 5 main barriers that community providers report to me. Number 1 is Excel's ratings. When 2 infractions at a center can happen in 12 months, a program totally loses their pre-K expansion funding. This can happen in an infant room, a toddler room, anywhere else in the center beyond the pre-K classroom, and the funding is gone that following year. Number 2, lack of approved curriculum. Providers need to submit an approved curriculum to the state during that application, and MSDE has not released a pre-K recommended list for 5 years. Third, a lack of guidance on the pre-K sliding scale. Although this passed about 16 months ago at the State Board of Education, there is still not a guidance document that has come to LEAs and community-based providers. Number 4, there are income reporting inconsistencies between public and private. There is between 300 and 310%, which is technically Tier 2. When school systems report that to the state, they actually are counted as Tier 1. But on our private side, they cannot accept any children over 300%. So that is an inequity right there. And then 5 is lack of grant writing support in general for our community-based providers. My 5 suggestions then is 1, revise the Excel's rating system. If a program is state funded for pre-K seats, their Excels should only meet the requirements of those classrooms that are being state funded. 2, publish a list of approved pre-K curriculum. 3, issue guidance on the sliding scale. 4, clarify and align income reporting rules so that there is equity across the mixed delivery system. And then the last is to support with that grant writing. The initial blueprint had these early learning or early pre-K expansion hubs around the state, and that model was intended to support our community-based providers with some of the access that LEAs automatically have embedded in their work. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Leslie. We have reached the end of the public comment for participants who were present. Any other questions, Chair Daniels, or any other comments that you would like to make?
No, just want to ask Leslie, what's the number 4? I think I missed that number 4 before the support. Oh, okay. I guess.
Sorry, my number 4 is the income reporting discrepancies.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I'm taking notes, but yeah. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today and for sharing your thoughtful comments and perspective. I know a lot of the speakers here, and then your voices are essential in helping us strengthen the blueprint's implementation and ensure that every child in Maryland has access to high quality early childhood education. As we close, I want to take a moment to reflect on what the blueprint truly means in practice, not just in theory or policy, but in the lives of real children and educators like myself. I am a second-year pre-K expansion grantee, and at the beginning of the school year, my class consisted entirely of multilingual learners. I had students who speak Korean, Chinese, Spanish, and Japanese, 3 of whom entered without speaking a single word of English. It took a lot of one-on-one support. I did visual scaffolding, translation tools, and most importantly, patience and love. But here we are at the end of the school year, and every single one of those students can speak English. They can write their names and some words, and some are beginning to read, explore math, and engage in science. They are excited, confident, and ready for kindergarten. Because of the blueprint, the students will start school on equal footing. They won't need costly intervention services. That's a savings for taxpayers and a gift of opportunity for our children. This is what investing in early looks like, and it works. The blueprint is not just a cost, it's a commitment. A commitment to equity, readiness, and raising the educational bar for all Maryland's youngest learners. On behalf of the whole Pillar 1 Advisory Committee team, I would like to thank everyone who submitted comments and all the advocates in this call for across the state. Your engagement is what makes this work meaningful and effective. Thank you so much. And I will turn it over to Lisa Armstrong for the next steps.
Thank you, Chair Ruby. Thank you to the Commodore who registered on our link and attended and gave us your time and your comments today. In terms of next steps, input will be gathered through mid-July. You are more than welcome to visit our website, aib.maryland.gov, to find information for our other public meeting opportunities, to provide input on the other blueprint pillars. Also, on the website, we have an online survey that can be used to submit written suggestions. This survey will be open until July 11th, 2025. The board will consider all comments at their regular meeting on July 24th in order to adopt any changes by the statutory deadline of August 1st. We thank you so much for your time and attention, and have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.